I think it's obvious what the president did was wrong, and we just got to be honest. I mean, to have thousands of secrets in your house, showing them to people that were not read in, and then giving back some of it, but saying you gave back all of it and lying about it. There's no way to defend that. And I just think the emperor has no clothes. And we need to have some Republicans stand up and say that, because come around after the primary, I guarantee you the other party is going to be saying this. And I think it will cost us the November election. So I just don't see it as a sham indictment. I think this is what he did. I think, assuming that all the allegations are true here, I don't think you can deny it. And I think we've got to stand on the truth. And that's how Republicans will win in the long run. I think what the people are probably fearful of the base, fearful of President Trump attacking them. But I think in the end, if you stand on the truth, you're going to win in the end.
Sage advice for Representative Don Bacon, a Republican, I believe I'm from Nebraska, who has some words about the approach that many of these Republicans have taken in defending Donald Trump and seeing the evidence, hearing some of the tapes that have gone on, and also seeing the way he kept hoarding and holding on to these classified documents. He was pointing out how we can't just keep acting like we don't see what we're seeing here. And also, yes, it's pretty bad. I don't think it's a sham, as they've found a way to show some of these things. Why would we continue to stand behind it? Which, of course, you'll see him even mention down to the political side of we'll lose elections that way. Outside of the fact that it's classified documents, some of the nation's top secrets that were held by this guy, and who knows what his intentions were or what he actually carried out with them, he still has to point out, we might lose an election based off of how they're gonna talk about how horrible we all circled the wagons around this potential criminal. It's just the way it is. By the way, there's the parts about this, the way that he's gone about it. Let's look at this from the Hill, because this is, I think, catching a little bit of attention. He said many Republicans have defended Trump and slammed the Justice Department for these alleged political motivation in prosecuting the former president, whom they point out is the leading contender, that's their problem, for the GOP nomination to oppose Biden's reelection. Also, that group includes several of Trump's main opponents: former ambassador to the UN Nikki Haley, Tim Scott, senator from South Carolina, and conservative entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy. As you guys know, Ramaswamy vowed to pardon Trump if he was elected president. I bring all that up because those folks are running against Donald Trump. You would think it's pretty easy to just say, let's go ahead and try and bury this guy. We can point out all the issues that he's got because I'm looking to win this nomination. And Jackson, maybe they're not looking to win the nomination, because that seems like a straightforward approach.
I mean, yeah, and you'd think that these people live in like an alternate reality where we're in an aristocracy or something, because one of the things I keep pointing out is the absolute absurdity that they can't see beyond 2024. It's really like a big who cares, you know what I'm saying? Like, even like, let's say that, for instance, like Bernie lost in the last election, but we moved on. That's just life. That's how our election system works. You have to keep looking at what's next. And they're so caught up on Donald Trump and playing whataboutism with everything. The 2-time indicted president, 2-time impeached, been a criminal his whole life, which is largely why he's acting the way he's acting, because he hasn't had to face any consequences for anything. And then when they compare, they talk about him like he's just some Joe Schmo out here. Not like he's been rich his whole life and he was the former president of the United States and he just willy-nilly had nuclear codes next to his toilet. Like he would just invite his friends and be like, oh, check out these documents. I brought them over. I got them in my new rock collection. And then didn't he literally say, like, I did everything right and they still indicted me? Like, he literally said that. And then he was like, they brought the safe crackers and they cracked the safe and they saw there was nothing in there. I had nothing in there. And it's just the idea that it's like this dude is permanently and infinitely innocent, no matter what he does. Again, at some point, you got to be like, okay, who gives a damn? Let's just find somebody else. But unfortunately, that man isn't Ron DeSantis. It's not Asa Hutchinson. It's not Vivek Ramaswamy. It's nobody else. But I mean,
maybe it's Chris Christie.
Maybe
he's the one that's going after everybody.
Yeah,
doing this type of.
He's the only one doing it effectively. But he's still Chris Christie.
Before you give Don Bacon too much credit, there's obviously still a Republican, and when we see some of the policies he may push forward, which again, by the way, fine, continue with your normal policies and agenda items that you would go after. But it seems pretty straightforward. You can just say something like this. But sometimes there's other factors. Let's look at this. This is a little bit of pass between the Dons. Trump called for a conservative primary challenger to oppose Don Bacon's reelection bid. Don Bacon's the man we just heard from. His reelection bid during the 22 midterms last January over Bacon's support for Biden's $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure package. So because Don Bacon supported that infrastructure package, Trump was going after him for re-election. Trump initially called for his challengers to Bacon and the dozen other Republicans who voted for that bill, but then he specifically singled out Don Bacon. And now Don Bacon's like, why are we supporting this guy? I think we're seeing this come together. This next quote here. Bacon, who's a moderate Republican who represents a hotly contested swing district in Nebraska, is one of a handful of Republicans who have criticized Trump's conduct following this indictment. So there's two factors here. Trump already went after him and said, here, let's primary this guy, get him the hell out of here. And Don Bacon is also in I guess a contested district. I was gonna call it purple. I don't know exactly, but it's contested enough that he doesn't have an automatic. So he needs to appeal to the folks who don't necessarily kiss Donald Trump's ass at every turn. So there's always something along those lines when you see a Republican that's criticizing Donald Trump. Because he said maybe some of them are scared. He doesn't have the room to be afraid of Donald Trump because he could kowtow to him, but he could still lose. One other person and that could be behind this type of approach is also former Republican Representative Will Hurd. See those same similarities? Don Bacon got challenged, so he has some room to attack back at Trump. Will Hurd isn't even in elected office anymore. This is what Will Hurd said.
When NARA, the National Administration for, I forget what the R stands for. When they ask for the documents back, just give them back. And we wouldn't be in this position, right? If Donald Trump would have followed that law, we wouldn't be here. And yes, maybe there would have been an opportunity. DOJ probably didn't want to prosecute this case because they knew the drama it was going to come into. But we're not shocked that Donald Trump would rather have a fight than follow the law. And to me, this is crazy that so many people are defending him for doing this, and we wouldn't be in this position if he would have turned them back. He knew that they were in places that were accessible by his members and by his staff. And when is Donald Trump going to tell us, these are the steps I took to prevent the Chinese government, to prevent the Russians from trying to come in and bribing my members or bribing my staff in order to get access to us? Like, those are the questions Donald Trump should be doing.
But he's not doing that, Jackson. Again, it's if you have the room to do it, then you can criticize this guy. Last thoughts before we jump out of here?
Well, I mean, why isn't Trump doing it? Let's check out some of these most recent polling numbers from YouGov. So, if convicted over classified documents, Trump should, likely GOP primary voters say, still be elected president. 80% say he should still be elected president, even if he's found convicted over the classified documents. The indictment charges, how might they change your view of Trump? 61% of Republicans say it won't change no matter what happens. Which concerns you more? It says likely GOP primary voters say the indictment was politically motivated, 76%. So, who gives a damn? And then here's one about the GOP and the rest of the country. The national security risk if Trump kept nuclear military documents. 38% of likely GOP primary voters say, yeah, there was a risk. Only 38% say there was a risk versus 80% of the rest of the country who says there was. But which again just goes to point out that this dude Trump really can't win a general election, and they can't see past that. They don't care about winning necessarily through the democratic process. They want Trump to take it all back for them.
That's always the whole point. They're not looking to convince anyone to vote for them. They're looking to force the outcome to be the way that they'd like in all these different ways.